Wow, stories.
Am I the idiot for sleeping downstairs when my boyfriend didn't want to allow my dog to sleep in the room with us? My, female 30, and my boyfriend, 31 male, have been together for 6 months, and my dog and I have been in the process of moving in. My BF Cameron asked me to over a month ago, and I just moved everything out of my former place today. I have a dog, Sammy, who is 9 years old. I rescued him when he was around 2, and he's seen me through some really rough things. I was in an abusive relationship for a while that also really affected him. That ended 2 years ago, and it's been just Sammy and I since then. Cameron has a dog as well. She's a large breed, around 60 pounds, where Sammy is around 30. She's just over 3, and he rescued her when she was just under a year old. She had sometimes slept in his room with him, but mostly in a crate. My dog has never slept in a crate. I don't disagree with that method of training at all, but I'd be unwilling to force that on my dog now that he's so old. I go to bed before my boyfriend, and the last 2 nights he's been coming to bed and locking my dog out of the room. He'd mentioned, prior to doing this, thinking about not having my dog sleep in the room, and every time he brought it up, I expressed my discomfort. My dog and I have been through some rough things, and he's never not slept near me. Tonight, I stayed up much later with my boyfriend while he played on the computer. We went to go to bed, and he tried to lock my dog out, and I said I wasn't comfortable with that. He said my dog affected his allergies and makes weird mouth noises that were keeping him awake. His dog is not hypoallergenic. I said I respected that he needed sleep. I wanted to try to solve this issue when it wasn't nearly midnight, and that I'd like to either sleep on the couch with my dog nearby or sleep with the door open until we could have a proper conversation. He was really upset by this and told me both options were crap. I asked him for compromises, and he didn't have any. He then walked out while I was mid-sentence to sleep in his guest room, strictly no dogs allowed in that room. I don't know what I did wrong. I know I can be overprotective of my dog. Am I being unreasonable? I was trying to help. TLDR. My boyfriend is allergic to my dog, and instead of sleeping in the same room, I offered to sleep on the couch. Edit. I'd been at his home basically every night for the previous month and a half with my dog, and he'd never not slept in the room. I didn't think it was something for us to discuss. I also know he's allergic. I can tell when it gets worse. I think it's just a very mild reaction. Prior to this, when it seemed to be getting worse, we just knew it was time to wash the sheets, vacuum, and dust. I was hoping to talk to him about brushing, bathing more regularly in a longer discussion the next day. Edit 2. As clarification, I don't need my dog to sleep in the bed, just in the same room. Sammy typically just sleeps near me. He's also 9 and has really slowed down in the last year, which makes me constantly aware of the fact that I may not have much time left with him. You're an idiot. So before you moved in, he mentioned a couple of times that he didn't want your dog to sleep in the bedroom, and you expressed your discomfort, and that's where the conversation ended? That's absurd. You knew he didn't want your dog to sleep in the bedroom. He knew you wanted him to, and you didn't think it would be wise to actually reach a conclusion before moving in. You're the idiot. Your dog doesn't need to be in a crate, but it also doesn't need to sleep in your room or on the sofa. You can be apart for a few hours. This should have all been discussed beforehand. Am I an idiot for telling my girlfriend she needs to be polite and ruining her mood before an interview? So my girlfriend recently bought some clothes and ordered them to my house. I was planning to take them to her the next time I go to meet her. She lives in another country, so I fly there often. Since it was a lot of clothes, I told her that this is going to take up most of my suitcase. I suggested that I wear one of the jackets inside my big winter coat, and that way I would save some space. I sent her a picture of me wearing her new jacket, and she responded in a very weird tone. "Please don't wear my clothes, thank you. I don't like when other people wear my clothes." I think this tone is a bit weird and rude for me. We've been together for a while now, but she sometimes treats me like a stranger. I also flipped a bit and told her that she's acting weird, and that these little quirks of hers are going to make it very hard to live with her. We're planning to move in together soon. We had a big argument after this, doubting the entire relationship because I said it's going to be hard to live with her. I agree it was bad timing since she had an interview the next day, but I couldn't not tell her in the moment that she could have at least had a sense of humor about it while telling me to take off her jacket. You're an idiot. Not wearing one's clothes without permission is a perfectly reasonable boundary. Lord knows how many articles I've had stretched out/damaged by exes raiding my closet. And she asked, apparently calmly and without rancor, that you not do so. You fuming, rethinking your relationship over this incident doesn't seem like a measured response. You're an idiot. How is stating a boundary while saying please and thank you rude? You asked. She said no. That should have been the end of it. You read something into that comment and started an argument because you're having doubts that's what actually happened. Am I an idiot for leaving my mom's birthday weekend early? I, 32, male, traveled a few states away to see my mom on her birthday. I see her 3 times per year. I rented a car and drove down Thursday after work. I arrived at her house Friday morning. I had a plane ticket to return home Monday at 2 p.m. My wife did not travel with me for a couple of reasons. First, she is in school and has exams the following week. She wanted to stay home to study. Second, we adopted a dog a month prior and did not want to board the puppy. Saturday night, I spoke to my wife on the phone before bed. She expressed being overwhelmed by the dog and studying. I said I wish I could come home early to help. My wife agreed coming home early would help alleviate her stress. Sunday morning, I moved my flight Monday from 2 p.m. to 8 a.m. I told my mom of the change and was met with no reaction. That afternoon, 2 of my mom's friends came over for cocktails. I sat with them talking. Around 5 p.m., I stepped away to call home and check in. We spoke for about 30 minutes. After the call, I went back to sit down with my mom and her friends. When I entered the room, one of her friends asked, "You didn't have to move your flight up earlier, did you?" I responded I was just checking in at home. The same friend then says, "Where are your balls? Does your wife have you on a short leash? You have no backbone and are rushing home. I mean, you are such a pussy." I looked over at my mom and she sat back and watched this unfold. I attempted to explain my wife was stressed and wanted me home. My mom's friend continued berating me. I looked again to my mom who sat back and said nothing. My mom eventually said, "Stop, he's not going to want to sit with us anymore." I then walked into the room and went for a walk to cool down. When I came home 30 minutes later, my mom apologized for her friend being so mean. I accepted her apology, and we did not discuss the event for the rest of the night. The next day, my mom drove me to the airport and said, "Tell your wife thank you for lending you to me." I feel like changing my flight earlier upset my mom, L, and she shared those frustrations with her friends and not me. I see her 3 times per year, so I could be the AH for shortening that time. You're an idiot. You only get to see your mom 3 times a year. You'd think you'd want as much time with her as possible in those few days. And your wife can't seem to handle studying and taking care of a puppy? For a couple of days? How selfish of her to also ask you to do that. Not an idiot. When you go home is a decision you get to make. And if your mom wants you to stay longer and/or visit more often, she needs to speak up about it instead of passive-aggressively blaming your wife. It's not controlling or manipulative for your wife to say, "I'm stressed," and then to agree that it would be easier if you came home earlier. Saying it would be easier is not the same as "get back here now" or similar sentiments.